So, welcome to the main cut. I'm your host, Jade, and today I am here with celebrity stylist, product developer, educational specialist, and also licensed trichologist, Cataanda James. And Cataanda has well over 30 years' experience in the textured hair industry, has styled the likes of Neo, Terrence Howard, Tatyana Ali, Tina Lifford, and many, many more. Not to mention, she's also worked with major beauty brands in their product development, marketing, and education teams, such as L'Oreal USA, L'Oreal Paris, Carol's Daughter, Dark and Lovely, The Main Choice, MAC. We could go on, and there's many more. But what makes this episode really special is that Cataanda is also, in fact, the newest member of Team Main Hookup. As of today, she joins as our head of education and community, where she'll be advising customers and stylists on textured hair care. So today we'll talk to Cataanda about her journey in the industry and how she got to where she is today. So both welcome to the team and the show.
Hi, thank you. Thank you, Jade, for that wonderful introduction.
It's been a joy. It was really nice to think of that and write that up because you've done so much. You've done and worked in places that people typically dream of getting to that stage. So first, it would be great to know a bit more about your journey in the hair industry. How did it all start? How did you get to where you are now?
Alrighty. Well, it's been quite a journey. It's been actually pretty much a lifelong journey. I guess I will start there. I was the little girl that loved makeup. I loved, doing hair, doing my hair, doing other people's hair. I loved chopping all of my dolls' hair off. And I loved playing with my mom's mannequins. My mom was in cosmetology school when I was about, 7, 8, 6, somewhere around there.
Okay.
And so that's how it started for me. Typically, probably like all little girls, playing with our dolls, styling their hair, grabbing the scissors, cutting their hair, which we don't know that their hair doesn't grow back. Well, until they came out with a doll that actually grew hair, but that's a whole other story. However, that's how I started. And it was something that I think was on a different level, like on another level from normal, average little girls playing with their dolls. Like I was really serious about it. And I think that because my mom was in cosmetology school, she allowed me to embrace it. She would pass me off her mannequins to do whatever I wanted to do with the dolls. A story that I like to tell and everyone seems to love is that I went to cosmetology school with her a few times. So this one particular time, they were doing finger waves. So they were learning how to do finger waves. So it was early on, in her cosmetology, schooling. And they gave me a mannequin at school, the little girl, cute little girl. Oh my gosh, she's so cute, blah, blah, blah. So I'm just there taking it all in. And I was the little girl, which people that know me now probably would never believe this. And I tell my friends this and they're like, no way. But I did not talk. Like, rarely did I speak. I sat back and I observed everything. Didn't really speak much. So I'm just in the class observing and just absorbing it all. And so we get to the part where we have to do the practical. At the time, they were learning these finger waves. No one had really mastered the art of finger waves. And so I am a visual learner. I always have been. I'm a hands-on learner as well. And so I watched the instructor lay the finger waves. I had my mannequin. They're like, okay, go, you guys. And I laid my finger waves and they were immaculate. And the instructor's walking around and my mom knows. I mean, I'm her daughter. She sees it all the time. So she knows what I could do. I had never done finger waves, but she's seen me cut hair and all those sorts of things, style hair. I used to do her makeup for her. She's going to probably kill me. But when she was going out to the club, in order for me not to cry. She's like, okay, you can do my eyeshadow. I'm like, okay, yeah, let's do it. And so she knew my skill set or the talent that I had. And so no one believed that I put the finger waves in the mannequin. They thought my mom did.
No.
And my mom did not. And my mom actually never mastered finger waves. So that was like the first time I guess my mom's ears really perked up, like, hey, this little girl has a God-given gift and a talent that, you know, we just can't ignore. So that's how it started. From there, I went to cosmetology school in high school. I was not learning much there. I come from a small town, Kalamazoo, Michigan. It was actually the same cosmetology school that my mom went to. So that was pretty cool. They were obviously in a new location, but it was the same cosmetology school. And so once I got there, at this point, I had been doing hair since like 7 or 8 and actually having clients like family members, friends of my family members, my friends. So I actually had clients as like a little girl, preteen, and then teenager. So by the time I'm in high school, I am actually in cosmetology school, like teaching the instructors and the other students like how to do mainly hair extensions because they weren't teaching that then. You know, braiding, how to braid hair with extensions, how to do sew-ins with extensions. I was teaching like really how to properly relax the hair because we didn't have any Black women hair instructors at the school. Okay. So they were, you know, a little apprehensive. They were, you know, just a little, I'd say, I guess, not confident in doing relaxers and anything textured hair. So that was me, the high schooler that's actually in a vocational program going to school for free. I'm actually teaching these people how to do certain techniques and things like that. So lo and behold, I am also a person, I get bored very easily. So if you're not like capturing my attention, you know, I'm just going to get bored. So unfortunately, I started skipping cosmetology school. And they would call my mom because, mind you, I started in the 11th grade, but going into the 11th grade, I have a late birthday, so I'm actually 15. And so we are in school. So we would go to regular high school morning to afternoon, and we would go from lunchtime to 5:30 in the evening at cosmetology school. I mean, we're kids. Everyone else is out at 2:20. So we're hanging out in cosmetology school like adults. And I mean, I guess if it was more intriguing or more, you know, capture my attention, more fun, if I was learning, I would have loved it. However, that was not the case. So I started skipping school. Unfortunately, I became a beauty school dropout. They would call my mom like, hey, she's not at school. And she's like, okay, well, where is she? Because she's not at home either. So I would be hanging out with my friends. And my mom would come looking for me. But it was just one of those things where even in regular high school, I was always the science girl. I loved math, but I was like a hands-on gym class. I ran track. So I had to be doing something either physical or something with my hands. Otherwise, sitting like in an English lecture class, if I'm not writing, I don't want to, you know, talk about it. So, that was a thing. Obviously, I had to go back to regular high school full time because they're like, you have to be a full-time student. We're going to have to send you back to school. Well, I had already had all of my credits in full-time high school. So I just took like study hall and just random classes like that to kind of fill the space. After high school, I went to college. I will keep this story super short. I was booking hair appointments in my college dorm room, skipping class. Mind you, again, I went to my biology lab. I went to my aerobics class. I went to my math class and all the other classes. I went to my creative writing class, but all the other classes, I didn't go. I was booked and busy in the dorm room. So that became another problem. They're like, okay, we're going to make you come home. We're not going to, you know, on academic probation. You got to come home. I'm like, okay, great. That's what I wanted to do. I always knew I was going to be a hairstylist. I didn't know in what realm. I didn't know, like, I just knew behind the chair stylist in those times. I didn't have the idea that I can go out into the real world, into Hollywood, and touch these people that I actually watch on TV, because I come from a really small town. So I went back to cosmetology school because I had to get licensed.
Right.
I was about 700 hours short, I think, of getting my license, because I had stayed in cosmetology school long enough to get on the floor. And when you get on the floor, that's when you're actually working on people doing hair. And so you're now calculating your hours there. So I went to this cosmetology school, again in Kalamazoo, Michigan, and it was the same exact experience. So boring, not learning anything. I was tired of doing perms on little old ladies. I was tired of doing roller sets. I wanted to do fun stuff. I wanted to do some hair, sew-ins, color cuts, fun stuff. I was in the break room one day, and this was to answer prayer. And on the bulletin board, there was this like pamphlet, and it was talking about this place called Dudley Cosmetology University. And I was like, what is that? And so pick up the pamphlet, read it, and oh my gosh, it spoke, like the words jumped off the brochure into me, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to go to this place. And it was, those of you that know, Dudley Cosmetology University was the works of Mr. Dudley, and he recently passed away in February. But like, self-made millionaire, he manufactured his own hair care products. He had all of these schools across the country. And when I got there the first day, it was on and popping. Like, we had what we call competition, is when we had like a hair show for the school. They did like this elaborate hair show for all of the orientation. Everyone there was super talented. Like, I didn't need to teach anybody anything there. I needed to sit back and watch and learn myself, because everybody was super talented. So I was within a place, in an environment where everyone was like me. And so that was the place. And I've always said, man, if I had started there, I would have never become a beauty school dropout. Like, I know that's really not a thing. We see it on the movie Grease. But it's not good to be a beauty school dropout, you guys. But lo and behold, I stuck it out. You know, I am now licensed in 5 states. I know that's a thing here in the U.S. You have to be licensed, but there's some things going on where they're trying to snatch the licensing away in one state that we know of right now, which is not good. So I went from dropping out, and now I'm highly accredited, worked in so many different states. I've moved around so many different places. I have worked, as a makeup artist for MAC. I have worked with celebrities. I've worked on a couple film, TV. I have worked with many brands, like a lot of the brands that I grew up watching, one in particular, Dark and Lovely. So I really, really, really was able to realize my dream, which I didn't have dreams or aspirations to work with these specific brands, but I just knew that I wanted something bigger. So that's why I stuck it out, went to Dudley. That was the place where he taught us the business side of beauty, but also we were able to hone our artistic talents and skills. And so, yeah, that's pretty much my journey.
No, that's amazing. And I mean, I think it's also good to just, when you know, had I had a different experience, had I been in a different environment, sometimes it's not what you're learning, it's where you are, you know.
Yes.
And like, education is a huge part, I think, in the hair industry, because customers constantly need educating, stylists will always need to upskill, and it's also about them finding the right people to teach them, as much as it is them getting the information. You know, you can kind of get the information from almost anywhere, but not everybody's going to engage with you in the way that you need to be engaged with.
That's totally true. But if you think about it, back then, we didn't have like YouTube University. We didn't have social media. Like, all we had was beauty school, and beauty schools that actually taught advanced courses.
Mm-hmm.
which were like back then, advanced learning courses were really expensive. They were like almost like college tuition. The
Oh.
great thing about Dudley Cosmetology University as well, it was an accredited university. So you could actually go and get like your business degrees. And so Mr. Dudley, he instilled in us like education first,
Mm-hmm.
business, artistry. Like if you're a hairstylist, you are going to run a business, so you need to know these things. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think that's where I first realized the importance of education in this particular industry because
Yeah.
clearly I was dropping out of all the beauty schools before. So thank God for Mr. Dudley. Rest in peace. We love you. And I am a product of Dudley Cosmetology University, and I'm excited.
No, that's amazing to hear. And also for anybody who is listening, we will drop links to any like educational institutions or anything that Katanda mentions that, otherwise you don't have to Google. It will be in the newsletter, so you guys can just find the links there. But it would also be great to know, what challenges did you face as you were building your career? So you've gone to Dudley, you've gotten yourself licensed. At that point, what challenges were you facing? How did you overcome them?
Oh my gosh, I faced so many challenges. So many challenges, but I think the majority of my challenges came from myself.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so when I was in Kalamazoo, Michigan, I went back there from Dudley, got licensed, started working in salons. Again, a very small town. The salons, I had a hard time finding like my space in
Mm.
the salon. The first place that I worked ever was a barbershop.
Oh,
So
okay.
I don't know about now because I haven't done much of it lately, but I used to be able to do a fade, high top, like all that stuff, designs in the head, all of that. I since got away from that because that wasn't my, passion, but I was
Mm.
working in the barbershop. So I guess drawing and like the artistry side of it, so all the lines and designs in the head were, but like
Mm.
doing a tight fade, men are a little more particular than women. We don't
Oh.
realize that, but when it comes to their haircuts, I don't want any parts of it. Unless it's more of like a, I don't know, scissor over comb or scissor cut, but those clipper cuts and all that stuff, it was crazy. Anyway, that was the first place I worked. My boss, I'm still really good friends with him. It's really
Oh.
interesting because now he calls me for advice. Whereas then he was telling me all the things and scolding me and, why did you cancel your clients? And I was like, because I needed to go hang out with my friends. So those clients could wait later. So it was constantly like a learning experience for me. So working in that barbershop, working with the guys, I found that, in between when I was building my clientele, because I had clients, but remember I had clients between school hours and things like
Mm-hmm.
that. I needed to now have a full work week's worth of clients. And so I was able to build quickly, but within that, I was able to just learn from him. So again,
Mm-hmm.
learning like the business side of it. He's like second generation barber. His father owned and operated a barbershop. He worked with his dad. So he was really good at, instilling those things in me. I was able to find out this is the importance of a shampoo, a good shampoo and I guess the healing therapeutic part of a shampoo. When I
Mm-hmm.
went, he didn't shampoo any of those guys. So he would, it's not good. You should, but that wasn't his thing. So a lot of barbers, they don't do shampoo. They just do the haircut and that's it.
Oh.
However, I was there and they would ask because they'd see me doing the girls for a shampoo. And so he would start sending them to me to shampoo their hair.
Right.
Lo and behold, they would tip me more than his haircuts cost.
Oh.
So he was like, I don't know what you're doing with those guys at the shampoo bowl. I'm like, it's just the power of a shampoo. They need their scalps clean. When your scalp is clean, you feel good.
Mm.
It's invigorating. It's refreshing. You give them a scalp massage. They're like falling asleep at the bowl. And so it was a very valuable service. So I was able to build that way with just doing shampoos in between my clients. I feel like the challenge came not because of the salon that I was at, but the area that I was in.
Right.
Like I never really fit. I was a small town girl with a big city, dreams and attitude and, vibrancy and things like that. And so I think it just got really boring. So I went from salon to salon to salon. I went from the barbershop. I worked in very high-end upscale salons. I have worked in literally a salon. This was actually one of my favorite places that I worked because one of my really good friends worked there with me. Well, we weren't friends until we started working, and then we're like best of friends now. He's an amazing hairstylist as well. But we worked in a salon, and we tell this story where the ceiling tile almost hit my client in the head.
No.
Yes. So it had some roofing issues, and it was leaking, and you could see like the stain, and we never realized that it would eventually fall, and it fell that day. The salon was packed, and it almost hit her. She had to jump. I had to jump and run, and it was like a madhouse. But so I worked in so many salons in Kalamazoo, high end. I worked at Supercuts in Kalamazoo. So I was just trying to find my groove and trying to find my spot. And so I think because I knew I wanted something more, that's where the biggest challenge came. So eventually I moved to the East Coast, and I was like, okay, I don't have clients here. My sister and her family lived there at the time. She, had recommended some of her friends. I was like, I got to figure out how to build this clientele, because back at Kalamazoo, I had been building clientele since I was a little girl. So the word was already out. My name was already out. I didn't really have to do much or say much. Power of referrals, it worked really well there. However, now I'm going to this bigger area, Baltimore, Maryland. It's not a huge city, but for me, it was huge because I came from Kalamazoo. And so I was like, I have to do something. So in Kalamazoo, really no need for makeup. People barely wore makeup there, I guess maybe for special occasions. I was the little girl, again, in junior high school with my cat eyes, eyeliner, and my lipstick. And I was teaching all the little girls in gym class how to do their makeup. They were probably going home, like my friends, and getting in trouble. But my mom let me wear makeup. So I was good. So I was like, maybe I could go work for a makeup company. So went into Nordstrom one day, saw the MAC girls there at the counter. In Kalamazoo, we didn't have MAC counter. We didn't have a MAC store. We didn't have MAC anything. Like, I think they just recently got MAC I think it's within Sephora or something. I don't know. So I was like, what is this makeup? And I mean, the music was like, they were playing good music. It was loud. They were dancing around. The line was like around the corner, all around the counter. And I'm like, what are you guys doing here? So I was like, wow, this is where I want to work. And working here at the MAC counter, I was thinking I had a plan and a strategy. I was like, I could build clientele here. So I went, put in my application. Mind you, I had never done makeup on a stranger.
Right.
I've only done makeup on myself, my mom, my family members, and my friends. Like an absolute stranger, no. So I was like, okay, I have to try to figure this out. So what I did was I found the makeup look that I was going to do actually on Sebastian website. So Sebastian is a hair care brand. So back then they had makeup. I don't even think they have makeup anymore. But for some reason they had makeup then. So I went on there, watched the tutorial, and I was like, okay, this is the look I'm going to do. I had no idea what they were going to ask me to do, but that was the look that I was going to do. So I showed up for my interview, did the practical, the makeup application, makeover, and I got the job. And so I worked there 15 hours a week, and I was working in the salon. So I was building my clientele in the salon. I was building my clientele at the MAC counter, and I became like one of the top sellers working 15 hours a week, because this is when I never left the house without my cat eye. This is when cat eyes, not everyone was wearing cat eyes like they are now. Like the
Right.
wings and all of that. It was just me. Like they used to call me Cataanda Cat Eyes. And I was able, like, I could sell, talk about selling some hair products and some makeup. I will sell you anything. Like, they were buying it. Like, oh my gosh, what do you have on your face? Oh, I have the 25 different things. And they were like, I want them all. Furthermore, they're like, oh my gosh, your hair is gorgeous. Like, who does your hair? I do my hair. Come and see me over here at the salon. And so I was able to build this clientele, this makeup clientele. And I really, it just, I don't know, it was like beyond my wildest dreams. I then started getting requests for doing like fashion shows and things in the area. Then I started getting requests to travel, and it just took off from there. So the challenge would have been me being in a small town. However, I was doing well. It's just that I wanted more. So I pretty much was challenging myself to get out and do more.
No,
As I still do, like really hard on myself.
No, that makes sense. And that's also like really incredible to hear how you made that decision, you made that conscious decision to move, because a lot of people feel that way, but they don't necessarily do it. You know, they're like, oh, I'm not sure if I should stay here, but then they stay kind of fear of what could or couldn't happen, but you went, you know, and that obviously that changed the trajectory of everything. So, you know, fast forward to now, you've worked with celebrity clients, you've worked with major brands. So what have you enjoyed about both of those experiences, and what's, you know, some key lessons that you learned from them?
So every experience is a learning experience, whether it be good, bad, or indifferent. I'd say starting with doing and working with celebrities. Again, coming from Kalamazoo, Michigan, that was something that I never thought I would ever have the opportunity to do. So when I did get the opportunity, it wasn't like, I don't think it really set in. It wasn't really that exciting. So speaking to brands, I was working at the time as a consultant for L'Oreal. And we used to do a lot of consumer events there. Well, back then, and we would travel the country doing all of these events. So this particular time, they're like, hey, you guys, we're doing the Sundance Film Festival. We're going to have you come. Mind you, I'm hair and makeup. So they chose two of us that were combo hair and makeup artists, which back then that was not common. I feel like now everyone says they do hair and makeup. That's a whole other story. But we were actually cosmetologists working in the hair industry and the makeup industry.
Right.
So they're like, we're going to take you two because you're wonderful at hair and makeup, and then we're going to take someone else that's just hair. And so we're like, okay, so they're giving us like all this list of names and, you know, think what we're going to be doing. You're going to be in this photography studio, sponsored by this and that, and going to have a booked appointment daily. So we're like, okay, great. Now I was just excited to travel to Utah. That was like my first time going to Utah. So I was like, oh my gosh, finally Utah. Like, and so when we got there, and my friend, she cracks up at me about this, my friend that I worked with. They gave us like our list of clients that we would do for the day. So my list, I only had like one person on my list that I knew the name of. Okay. And so she's like, she and the other person, it was a guy. They're like, oh, we're going to see this person. We're going to see that. Oh my gosh, you know, they played on that movie, or they were in that movie. He's the star of this show. And I'm like, who are these people? And so on my list, I had Terrence Howard. I knew who Terrence Howard was. So mind you, this is like, Terrence Howard was my first ever celebrity.
Wow.
And so when he came in, it was so funny because, again, I never really aspired to work with celebrities. I just knew I wanted to do more. I didn't know that would include celebrities. And so he walks in, and so we got this pep talk like from our boss prior to the manager. And she's like, you know, you guys, we don't want you fraternizing with the clients. You're not to take any pictures. This is before social media.
Yeah.
So now
Okay.
all these pictures and stuff, this is why I struggle a bit with social media, because we were trained that you stay professional. You don't take pictures with these people. Now, if they ask you to take a picture of them or with them, cool. But you do not say, hey, hop in a picture with me. Come on, girl. Like we do now. Okay, that wasn't the thing. So she explained that to us. And so we're like, okay, cool. So he comes in. He came in, and we're just like, you know, he was like one of the first people to come in that day.
Right.
He was on my list. And I was like a deer in headlights. I had never frozen for anything or anyone. And my friend Vanessa that was working with me, she's a deer in headlights. So we're just stuck. And so he comes over, and I'm like, you know, hey, how are you? I'm Cataanda. I'm going to be doing your grooming and, you know, your hair today. Is there anything? He was like, I don't know. Do you think? He's looking in the mirror. Now, when I tell you he's the smoothest, like, he is the smoothest, probably most, I don't know, guy that I've ever, more than anyone in my family, more than any of, like, New York, we always say the New York guys have the swag, more than any of those people.
Okay.
And he was just like, he just had this charisma about him. And so he's looking in the mirror, what do you think? Do I need anything? And so Vanessa's standing next to me. She's looking at me. And I was like, no, you don't need anything. And so I had to snap out of it, because I was just like, oh my gosh. And so, you know, because his eyes, he was just like mesmerizing. So I was like, oh no, but you do need a little powder. So then I snapped out of it, and I was able to, like, you know, come back to myself, do the job that I was being paid to do, and to powder him, you know, and everything. I probably just like kind of smoothed his hair a little bit, because back then he was wearing the relaxed hair and like all that. So
right.
That was that. And he was on my book for the rest of the week. But he was like kind of snickering, because I was like, it was like on a movie. I was like, no, you don't need anything. And so, you know, probably fed his ego a little bit. But that was like the first celebrity that I ever worked with. So that's how I came to do celebrities. I learned in that that celebrities are just people. So a lot of times, well, getting back to Sundance Film Festival, again, I didn't know many of these people. I only know him that was on my list, because I'm not a huge movie buff. I do watch movies, but I don't take note of the names. Still to this day, like, I don't know sports players. I don't know these people. So they would be like, oh my gosh, that's such and such. And so the funniest thing happened again. There was this guy, William H. Macy, and he was, well, he's playing a lot of movies. The one that I remember is Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
So he comes in, he's on my list. But at this point, they were trickling in and out, not on time. So people were coming and going when they weren't scheduled. So at this point, you didn't know who was who. So I was like, hi, you know, my name's Cataanda. I'm going to be working with you today. What's your name? So I stick my hand out to shake his hand. And Vanessa looks at me again. She's like shaking her head. He's like, oh, I'm William H. Macy. I was like, oh, nice to meet you, William. So we go ahead, we do our thing. He goes and has his, you know, picture taken. She's like, I cannot believe you asked William H. Macy what his name is. So it's just one of those things. I think that he really, I feel like a lot of times, unless they're just larger than life, celebrities appreciate the fact that you treat them as they are regular people. You're not like starstruck or falling all over them or like drooling, you know, at the sight of them. That's one of the things I learned. I learned that I get a sense of, I'm never nervous, but when anyone sits in my chair, whether it's an everyday regular person or a celebrity, like, because you want to make them feel good. You want to make them feel their most beautiful, their most presentable. You want them to put their best face forward. So it's always one of those things where, okay, I have to really make this person feel good, whether or not they're a celebrity or not. So that actually taught me that still in that sense, because you think of celebrities, they're always getting their hair and makeup done. They always look good, which is not true. They look like us when we wake up. They don't wake up with makeup and their hair done. So it's one of those things where we have to just do what we do, what we love to do, what we're taught to do. So that's one of the things that I've learned most working with celebrities. Working with brands has been, that was like when I first, I started off with L'Oreal, and I was working for MAC as a retail artist. But I feel like you learn so much, again, on the business side of it. As a makeup artist with MAC, I was learning sales. I was learning how customer relations, how to retain my clients. I was learning how to build my ticket. So if they come in for a lipstick, you need to sell them a lip liner and a lip gloss. So you learn how to do these things in a sense, whereas when you're working as an artist, you just pull the stuff out of your kit and use it. You don't really have to sell the actual product. Working with L'Oreal, I've worked with L'Oreal in so many different aspects of beauty industry. And I can actually say I've been to L'Oreal University. L'Oreal has been such an intricate part of my career. I've had so many opportunities working with L'Oreal, including working with my first celebrity client. I have had the opportunity to hone and become a hair color expert and to learn how to do product testing and development. So working with brands, it opens up a whole new side of things on the business and technical side. Working as an artist with celebrities or in the salon, it's more your artistic side. So that's one side of the brain. Whereas at L'Oreal and with brands, you have to operate really well on the other side of the brain too. And us creatives sometimes, I don't know, is the left side or the right side that we're creative? I don't even know which side, because I'm constantly using all parts of my brain. But you have to really be open for change. You have to learn how to take direction. You have to learn customers. You have to learn the psychology of customers.
Yeah.
Selling products to customers is there's a lot of psychology there. You have to be persuasive. You have to educate them, but your education has to be in a way that it's relatable and understandable for them.
Yeah.
It's just a lot. So working with brands, I've learned, I don't know, I can't even pinpoint just one thing that I've learned. I've learned so much, and I continue to learn daily, even now as I'm consulting with various brands. Every brand is different. Every customer base is different. You have to learn different markets and who you're marketing to. You have to learn, like I've worked on the CPD side of consumer products, but I've also worked on the side of professional products. So it's just a lot to learn and constantly learning. And I actually really enjoy working with brands, putting like amazing products in the hands of the artists like me. Because when I was in the salon, they just, you just pick up the product, the hairspray, and it says it's going to smooth the hair, hold the hair, and you believe that. And sometimes it does not. So being on the side where I'm testing it, where I'm actually being able to have a voice in, okay, this is how it should be used. This is when it should be used. This is whose hair type it should be used on, is really, really cool for me. So
I love that. And I mean, that kind of leads nicely into the next question, because, there's a lot of people looking for great advice and education in the textured hair space. But it's often a struggle. People really struggle to get the answers to the questions they have. Some people will be asking questions for years and years and still not really find the answer. So why do you feel education is so important? And what can stylists do to help their clients make better decisions about their hair care?
So education is key in any industry, especially this beauty industry when it comes to particularly textured hair. Because I was always the stylist. I've always had a diverse clientele.
Mm-hmm.
I've always done all types of hair. I've had like a myriad of different races of people, different hair types of people in my chair. The same as in my makeup chair, different skin tones and different complexions. However, with textured hair, there's so many nuances with textured hair. And you have to really understand the structure of the hair. You have to understand just the science behind the hair aspect of it. And again, being an artist first, I didn't always understand those things, like testing products and working with labs and chemists and working with, going in and batching up products with them has helped me to realize things that I probably would have never realized just working in a salon or just working on my clients, because you're just thinking differently. Like in the salon, it's more about the end result. How amazing is the hair going to look? How amazing is the hair going to feel? And how am I going to curl the hair? Or I better sleek it out and blow dry it to perfection in order to get this, immaculate silk press. Whereas when you are working with textured hair in the ways of you're developing products, you are testing products, you are, working the products through the hair of so many different curl patterns and curl types, you really learn the technical side. So you really get an understanding of the hair, how the hair reacts to certain things, how the hair reacts to certain ingredients, because ingredients do matter. And I feel like it is important for a hairstylist, especially hairstylists that want to do all types of hair, hairstylists that want to, specialize in textured hair, you have to do more than just style the hair. You have to, even just working with a lot of my friends that are stylists and celebrity stylists, we constantly talk about these things. We can learn from each other. And I've learned so much from working in those areas, but also from my friends and my peers. I am the one that I'm not a YouTube university girl, but Instagram, all the reels, I'm watching, I'm looking, I'm seeing what people have to say, especially also working in different regions of the country.
Right.
Products react differently. Hair reacts differently. So I may test a product. We're testing products here in New York. How is it going to react to someone that's in Texas, where it's scorching hot, pretty much it's super dry. There's no humidity pretty much in certain parts of Texas. Like, how is the edge control going to work on a person that lives in Dallas versus us up here, on the East Coast? So you have to learn those things, and you have to speak with, people in different areas. Again, taking classes. We're going to be a great platform for education here soon, where people can learn. But education is important, again, in any industry. However, textured hair specifically, because a lot of people aren't comfortable with textured hair. Even, I would always remember so I've never had a relaxer. And sometimes my mom, I was a little girl, I had so much hair. And I remember the first time she took me for the haircut, and the guy we were in Newark, New Jersey, and she took me to get the haircut because she at one point stopped doing my hair because it was just so much. So then I was doing my hair, and then I wasn't combing my hair out in the middle, and it was matted, and it was just all of this stuff. Because I was a little girl, like I love doing hair, and I love doing my hair. I didn't have the arm strength to all that hair. And so she took me for the haircut. And when they washed my hair, they just automatically assumed I had a relaxer. So when they washed my hair, it curled up. And I mean, it was huge. And they're all standing there like, oh my gosh, we've never seen so much hair. We don't know what to do with this hair. And they're like, she doesn't have a relaxer. And my mom's like, no, she doesn't have a relaxer. So I think they were hoping that we would have told them that prior to them putting the water in my hair. But they had to blow it out. And they were like, we don't really work on people that don't have relaxed hair. Granted, that was back when relaxers were like pretty much the only way for some. So that was that. But then even when I was working in the salon, some people wouldn't touch hair that wasn't relaxed. I actually
Mm,
encourage my clients to not get relaxers or not get them as often. And I actually
right.
lost a couple clients because I'm like, girl, we are not relaxing your hair every 6 weeks. You don't need, first of all, you don't need a relaxer. Second of all, every 6 weeks is too much. You don't even have that much
Mm.
regrowth. So I'm not relaxing your hair. But now they're all natural hair, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, Cataanda, you told me in the '90s." I'm like, "Yes, I did." But I feel like it is very important because relaxed hair, or I'm sorry, textured hair, natural hair, curly hair, if it is not straightened like chemically in any shape or form, it takes patience. Even for stylists like me, it takes patience.
Mm,
It takes, time. It takes you have to know what products are going to work for this girl versus that girl. Every 4C curl is not the same, so you can't necessarily use the same products on this girl that you will on the next girl. So I think that is the true importance of natural texture hair, because there's so many nuances. You know, the weather affects it
yeah.
drastically. You have humidity one day, but then the next day. So you have to learn how to maneuver and navigate through those elements, the environment, the elements, the natural elements that we face. And so I just think it's one of those things that we need to take more time with. When you have a person that comes in to get their hair braided, they're not always the candidate for you to slap a bunch of braid gel on their hair before braiding.
Mm,
That affects the scalp, it affects the hair.
yeah.
There's a lot, and everything doesn't work for everyone. When you have straighter hair textures, you don't really need so many techniques. It's basically straight hair in my chair blowout. I'm going to do it the same. But different
Mm,
curly hair types, I'm not necessarily going to do the same. I'm not going to do the same technique. The way I braid out your hair may not be the way I braid out another client's hair. So it just takes patience, it takes more experience, and it takes time. Yeah.
yeah. No, most definitely. And I think, like you said, education is so important on both sides because customers want to feel like they can go and ask their stylist a question and they're going to get a credible answer.
Yeah.
They're expecting, okay, in the case that I have a question, if I
Yeah.
want to make sure I'm doing something the right way until I see my stylist again, I can rely on my stylist to give me that information. That's like the ideal dream relationship that people want to have.
Yeah.
And I think it's about basically creating the world where we can get there because there's a little bit of like some healing that needs to happen between customers and stylists at the moment where people
Mm-hmm.
haven't quite gotten what they need. But I think a lot of it is around finding the right stylist, so finding the
Mm-hmm.
right person that even they specialize in the things that you're interested in. Like if you want to color your hair a
Mm-hmm.
few times a year, then maybe you need to go find somebody that specializes in that. So they're going to do the right thing with your hair, you know?
Yes.
So it's hard, but I feel like we're gradually going in the right direction where we're seeing more education and
Yeah.
especially more education specifically from stylists.
Yeah.
So I love to see that. And on the flip side, you've also worked on like product development and formulation for
Yes.
some major brands. And so, do you feel like textured hair is often taken into consideration when those bigger brands are making those products, or is it almost like it's something that's thought of after? It's an afterthought.
I think education oftentimes is an afterthought, even
Mm.
when it relates to product development.
Oh.
So, specifically, I've worked with a multicultural hair care brand as like the lead product developer. I was actually brand educator, but there were some reorganizations going on, and my boss was like, "Hey, we're gonna." Initially, she's like, "We're gonna need help from you on product development," but then things changed, and she's like, "Okay, you're the lead product developer," and I'm like, "Okay."
Wow.
Like, I'm used to working with an entire massive team at L'Oreal in product development. I'm just one little piece of the puzzle. But now I'm like the whole thing. I'm like the whole department. So, in that sense, because it was specifically a multicultural hair care brand or curly natural hair brand, I was the brand educator. I was able to fuse the two and merge the two and show the importance of education and product development and how they work together to the marketing. It was only one, my coworker. She was like the brand manager that was working in marketing. So it was she and I. And so she understood from my perspective, just working with me as a brand educator, but then even moving into this product development role or space, she knew from me because I preach education all the time. I preach it to the social media teams. I preach it to the marketing teams. I preach it to the, product testing and evaluation teams. Like education is key all across the board. So with that particular brand in that space, it wasn't an afterthought because I made sure that it wasn't an afterthought. However, working with some other brands that weren't, again, specific to natural, curly, highly textured hair, it is and was an afterthought. I think the turn of this being like not an afterthought and top of mind came in 2020 for whatever reason. I think mainly being they saw the, I guess, natural hair community still really thriving, and they saw that, us curly girls, we didn't necessarily, the stylists weren't, you couldn't work as a stylist, the salons were closed. So they saw us curly girls, us curly girlies, doing our own hair and using the products and not really fretting because we didn't necessarily have to go to the salon. We know how to do our braid out. We know how to do our twist out. We know how to do a wash and go. We know how to do this, but we need product to help us style it. And I think that's when it opened their eyes to that. We were not doing like as much styling. So then it came to a place where, okay, we don't need products that are so heavily full of emollients and oils. We need products that are going to focus on the scalp and focus on maybe giving some light holds, but not necessarily defining the hair so that it looks like to perfection. Because we were, I feel like everyone was pretty much natural in 2020. So I think that with that, that's when you started to see a lot of general market brands actually creating products for curlier and higher curl patterns when 2020 happened. Like, I feel like that's when when the development of those products came about, because I was working with L'Oreal then, and we started to do more with Garnier. We created like a lot of curly products for that line, or we started being more inclusive with the brand and saying, okay, this is not only for straight textures. For instance, Sleek and Shine. I used to use that on my hair, and it's to sleek the hair for frizzies, but it also worked well on curly hair. And so now we are on social media. We are like including, other curlier textured people into this brand, like, hey, Sleek and Shine is Sleek and Shine, but it can also smooth your curls and define your curls as well. So that's when all the inclusivity started happening as well. So I feel like now for most brands, and I'm super excited about this because I've been a curly girl all my life, I feel like they are no longer being an afterthought. It could be like maybe a second thought still, but not an afterthought, And so that is really great for the natural curly hair community, because now, not that we need so many products to choose from, but we feel included in all of, in every shelf. We feel included in the messaging on social media and the messaging on the ad campaigns and things like that. So, yeah. Sort of like the 40 shades of foundation.
Yeah.
That's how it is with our curls. Now, Rihanna introduced that 40 shades of foundation. So now it's, I don't know, 1,000 curly girls. There's so many curl types. Like no curls are the same. So I do think it's changed. It's changed and it's actually changing in the right direction.
Okay, no, I mean that's really interesting to get that from you because you've been on the inside and you've seen how these products are kind of like created from the ground up, and that's so interesting to know that you can see there's steps being made in the right direction, but we got a little way to go, but they're
Yeah,
moving.
we do. We have a little ways to go, but it's, we're making some traction here, even with things like the Crown Act, and, we're making some traction. So I know now is a conversation where I get these messages in my inbox all the time. Girl, I'm getting weak. I'm thinking about going back. Stick it out a little longer. Let's just stick it out. Stick it out with your natural curls. Like, we can do it. You don't necessarily have to go back to the straighter textures, not unless you absolutely have to. But I don't know why you would absolutely have to, actually. But I feel like we're making a lot of traction, a lot of headway here. I remember testing products a lot of times that were specific to other hair types and not curly hair. And I'm like, hey, you guys, I use this on my hair, and oh my gosh, it worked amazing. They're like, oh no, Cataanda, that's not for your hair type. And I'm like, but it works well on my hair type. So I feel like eventually, and that's the thing too, having a voice in these spaces has really meant a lot to me, because I feel like I can speak up for all of us, or I had the opportunities to speak up for all of us, and, open the eyes of people that are in pretty much control of what products hit the shelves and whose hair type it's for. It just has always been like important for me to speak up. My boss used to always tell me I was very courageous, because she knew I would say it. Like, and she would come to me a lot of times like, hey, Cataanda, what do you think about this? And I'm like, you know what? This is what it is. And she knew I was going to give her the real of it all, but she appreciated that, and she would take it back to the team. So stick it out, you guys. We have come a long way, and we have so much further to go. But if you guys quit and go back now, we're at square one.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I feel that there's almost two sides to that. One is people learning how to manage their hair, because the more you learn to manage your hair, the easier it becomes, even if it's never like entirely easy, because it's still, I say it's more time consuming than it's like down to it being hard or difficult. But what often counteracts that is what people learn and what people see, and it's like good and bad habits, that they pick up along the way. So what are some of the biggest problems that you're seeing in the textured hair community right now, and how do you think we can start to fix them?
The biggest problems, meaning for on the consumer side, or from my point of view?
Oh, it can be either consumer or stylist side.
I feel like, I mean, I'm a consumer too, though. So I feel like, so I'm going to think about, so I do these hair sessions, and I help, customers and clients build their personal, like, individual hair regimen. I, recommend proper practices on how to style their hair, how to, what products to use, what's best for them, how to take care of their braids, like just any and everything I coach them on. But a lot of times I get from the customer or the client, they want something to happen overnight. And there are some people that are transitioning their hair from relaxed to natural. There are some people that want their hair or their curls to grow longer. Everyone has their own concern. However, and I think I said it earlier, is patience is key. But with patience, you have to embrace what you have on your own head. Like you have to embrace the hair that's growing out of your scalp.
Yeah.
If you want to get to a space where you actually feel comfortable and confident with your natural curls, your natural texture. And that's always a big challenge, because if you are someone, especially someone that relaxes their hair and they've never even seen their natural texture probably since they've been relaxing, when you're transitioning, those two textures together will literally drive you bonkers. Because on one end, you see the straight texture, the relaxed hair, but then you see your natural texture coming in and you're on the fence. Oh, I want more of my natural texture. But now that I'm seeing my natural texture, it's so unfamiliar to me. I don't know what to do with it. And so I always encourage people to trim away and cut away those relaxed ends little by little if you're not one for a big chop, because that's going to always keep you on the fence. So you're going to, as your natural texture is growing in, you don't really see the length of it or the growth of it because it shrinks. So the only way to see that is to stretch it. But in comparison to your regrowth of your natural texture in the ends, you're only focusing on the ends because that's more of what you see. So it's hard to embrace the natural texture. I also see that there are no patience. Shampooing your hair is very important. I know wash days can take up the majority of your day if you don't have a routine set, if you don't have a regimen of products that you're using. But you have to have patience because it's not like, if your hair is relaxed and straight, it's really easy. Like it's really simple to shampoo your hair. It's going to lather quickly. It's going to rinse quickly. But everything with natural hair, you shampoo your hair, it's going to take a minute to lather. It's going to take a minute for you to see the lather. It's going to take a minute for you to feel like it's clean because you really got to get down in there. It's going to take a minute for you to feel like it's all rinsed away, and now I could proceed either with another shampoo or with a conditioner. And the patience is just not there because we decided to shampoo our hair and we have to go out with our husband at 7 o'clock, and it's 6 o'clock and I decided to do wash day. Like, no. My recommendation always with that is do not get into doing any major styling or any wash day or anything like that when you have some place to be that's close in proximity to the time you need to be there. But also just finding a way. We've been so traumatized by our hair and our hair texture, and not necessarily by us, but from society and other people. And so unfortunately it does get instilled in us, and that affects us. Again, it's like psychological, and we have to get to a point where we are comfortable with our hair as it grows out of our head. I think that's the biggest problem. It may not be necessarily the products that we don't see or that we feel like we need, or they are not thinking of us first. We're an afterthought. Yeah, those things are true and can be true. However, the biggest step is with ourselves. I am a person, I never wanted to wear my curly hair. I did not start wearing my hair curly on a regular basis to where I didn't even touch it with any heat until probably 2000. I was still doing my silk press even in 2018.
Okay.
2000, it had to be really where I didn't do any like heat stretch, any blow drying, anything. I'm not even talking flat iron. I mean just any type of heat. Outside of maybe diffusing the hair, but I don't diffuse, I air dry. But that was probably definitely in 2020.
Wow, okay.
Where I have not had any heat whatsoever. Okay. Not a blow dryer. I used to heat stretch my hair. So I would rough blow my hair.
Yeah.
And then I would do braid outs. But that's still heat. I mean, it's different from a flat iron or something like that, but it's still heat. Like I never went on a consistent basis every single time or day without any heat touching my hair. And it really, honestly, I had to think about that. But it was 2020, because why am I heat styling my hair in 2020?
Wow. But
I wasn't going anywhere. So so they coined me when I was in the salon working behind the chair. It started in Kalamazoo. I was a flat iron queen, because I'm telling you, I needed to know how to get these curls straight, and I needed to know how to keep these curls straight. So I was practicing on myself. So I was able to get a system and a technique to where it works for me. And I started obviously implementing it on my clients. And this started way when I was in high school. I was the little girl that went to the bus stop with straight hair and came back with an afro, whereas all of my friends went to the bus stop with straight hair and came home with straight hair because they had relaxers. So this natural hair, curly girl life has been my life forever. And I learned how, even before, I mean, she's already told you guys that 30 years as a stylist. So there's that. But even before we had flat irons, I don't know, some of you that will watch this will not have even been born when, like, you were born into the flat iron. There was a point where we didn't have flat irons, and I had to learn how to do a silk press with a curling iron, because I didn't like a pressing comb. I used my curling iron. I used my golden hot curling iron to silk press my hair and my client's hair. So when the flat iron came out, I was super ecstatic. It came out in the thermal irons first, the irons that we put into the stove. We had that, and that was just like amazing. But then when we got the electric flat iron, the Chi iron, that was my all-time favorite. I probably had like 5 of them. I still have like 2 of them survived the test of time for like 20 something years. And it's just one of those things where eventually I got to the point, it was a slow walk there for me. It was like a marathon and not a sprint. Like I started, not flat ironing my hair as often. I started just doing heat stretch and then not using the flat iron. I started wearing the wash and go. But when I look back on those pictures, I did definitely have some heat damage that I thought was, this is my natural texture, y'all. They used to be like, oh my God, your curls are so perfect. And I'm like, I know. But that wasn't even my real curl pattern. It was not. It was the works of the heat. Like, it altered my curl pattern. My hair was still healthy, so I didn't necessarily look at it as damage, but it was as a result of heat damage that I was just not, being honest and true with myself. So that's the biggest thing. We have to embrace what we have. Each one of our hair strands and curls is unique to us. It's like a fingerprint. Not everyone has the same curl pattern, just like none of us have the same fingerprints. So I think if you look at it that way, it's unique to you as an individual. Then a lot of our problems and our struggles and our challenges will go out the door. And then we could just thrive in the beautiful crowns that we have naturally.
Yeah, no, that's so true. And like you said, a lot of it has to start with us, especially when it comes to like loving our hair as it naturally grows out of our scalp. We can't expect that to come externally from other people. That's something that we have to do internally within our community to help people to really embrace their hair. It's different when somebody says, oh, I just want to straighten my hair today or for this event or for this occasion.
Yeah.
And it's a one-off versus them feeling like, oh no, I have to straighten my hair because I can't do my natural hair. And that's what we want to get away from and walk towards. Okay, if I just want to, then that's fine. But it shouldn't be, I have to feel that way in order to accept my hair.
Exactly. It shouldn't be that you have to style it that way to feel adequate or to feel enough or to feel your most beautiful self. It's an enhancement. Our hair, it's an enhancement. Like, we do certain styles and things. We use certain products to enhance our hair. Like, my curls are not this defined without products. So even though I'm wearing it natural, I still did something to enhance it, but it's
Yeah.
a subtle enhancement. It's enhancing. It's not like changing the structure or the look of it.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just actually enhancing and making it better. So when we look at it that way, I think we can all woosah and we can walk to the finish line together. We'll get there.
One bit at a time, but we're getting there. I feel like you
Yeah.
said, there's been progress. There's more work to do, but there's definitely been progress on that front.
Yeah.
And so, what is the most important lesson you have learned in your career so far?
Oh my gosh. The most important lesson that I've learned in my career so far,
Mm-hmm.
there are a few, but to give you just one, the most important I would say is trusting myself, trusting my abilities, my
Mm-hmm.
capabilities, trusting my talent and my skill set, and knowing that what I do and how I do it, no one else can do it that
Mm-hmm.
way because I am me and everyone else has their own way. So just pretty much being in a space where I do what I do and I don't worry about what everyone else is doing.
No, I love that.
Yeah.
And that's something for everyone to take away, whether you're a customer or a stylist. That's something that everyone can take away. So there is only one you, there's a reason you are here, and
Yeah.
there are gifts and skills that everybody has that they have to nurture, so that other people can benefit from
Mhm.
you being there and you being able to help them in any way you can. So that's a really good one that everybody can take away.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, even myself, I say that to myself a lot. Like, do you. You are you. Do what you do because you're the best at doing what you do. So, yeah.
No, I love that. And that's I guess it's also stylists that are at the beginning of their career. That's something for them to really consider, because when you're building and you're at the beginning, sometimes it can feel like a bit of an uphill battle, like what is different
Yeah.
about me and what I can offer and what I can do. But sometimes you may not have figured it out yet, but it's definitely there.
Yeah. And that's the thing too. Being a stylist is not only about your skill set. It's
Mm-hmm.
about your personality. It's about your character. It's
Mm-hmm.
about how you make people feel
Mm-hmm.
when they're in your chair, when they leave your chair, when they walk out of the salon and go into the world. It's about you and how we're physically touching people, but we're touching people's lives and impacting their lives in a way where a lot of times you could have someone come in and they could be having their worst day possible, and you touch them,
Mm-hmm.
you style them, you speak a good word to them, you remind them of something, remember when, a milestone or something, because we're here for all the milestones of people's life. Remember when you got married and we did this, and you're able to change lives. And I think that's a lot of people use that as like their tagline or slogan. I'm changing lives one head at a time. And that's
Mm-hmm.
actually really true. So,
No, that is so true. That's very, very true, and something for all people to remember. Being a
yeah,
stylist is also semi like being a therapist at the same time.
yeah, it
When
is.
you have people in your chair, so we
Mm-hmm.
appreciate all the stylists for doing more, going above and beyond when it
Yes.
comes to doing their job. But
Yeah.
last question.
Okay.
So, finally, I can imagine that you are doing many, many things right now, not just kind of coming on board and helping us with education and community,
Mm-hmm.
but it would be great to know, what's next for you? What are the things that you're really looking forward to for the rest of the year? Because we've got, all of 4 months left of
Oh,
2024 before we enter
I
2025. So,
know.
what are the
Yeah.
things on the horizon for you that you're super excited about?
So I am super excited about I don't think I am not even sure I told you this. But I am super excited about my hair courses that will be coming available. Pretty much this will basically include like the basics of hairstyling, the basics
Ah,
of, how to start your hairstyling business, or the
Okay.
basis of how do I go from behind the chair to working with the brand. I feel
Right.
like when I was, you know, in the shoes of where aspiring artists are now,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have like a blueprint, or I didn't have any help. I didn't have a mentor. Yeah, I had people that I looked up to, and people that helped to guide me along the way, but not like in a way where they were able to say, hey, this is what you want to do. I'm doing that now, and this is how you could get there. Granted, everyone's path is going to be different, but there are some basics and a foundation. And I think everyone can utilize to get to that point, because I know I could have. I was just out there doing all the things and doing
Mm-hmm.
everything. And I didn't really have a strategy. I had a dream, and I didn't, have a strategy as how to get there. I was pretty like, I was not structured at all. And so I told the story of the beauty school dropout all these times, and going from this salon to that salon, and this salon to that salon, going from this city to this city to this city. I would still encourage that, because I had to go where the work was. And
Mm-hmm.
different cities will offer different opportunities. Like I went to LA for the celebrity aspect of it and to help
Mm-hmm.
build that. And then I went to New York for the brand side of it. And so I think that just having these courses, I mean, everyone's selling courses and everything. And I really don't find that someone that is selling courses to aspiring hairstylists, and how to move from behind the chair to get these other opportunities. The biggest thing is, when I was even in high school, I didn't realize that you could actually build a career in cosmetic science. So going to college,
Right.
you have cosmetic scientist degrees that you can get to will help you later on when you start working for brands to develop products. So there are so many things that I always think is like, oh, it's the obvious. And people are like, oh my gosh, I just learned so much in our 10-minute conversation. I didn't know that. And I'm like, okay, I need to bottle this stuff up, because people need to know. And it actually is like for cosmetology and hairstylists in general, we don't really have that. I mean, we have people out here telling us as a hairstylist how to build our social media page, or as a hairstylist how to build your clientele, but we really don't have a blueprint of how to get to all these different spaces. So even just how to start your business, like your LLC, like, you would be surprised, not a lot of people know how to do that. I didn't know how to do it. I did have help from my sister, but I didn't know how to. She didn't really like walk me through and guide me. She told me what to do, and I had to figure out how to do it myself.
Yeah.
But now, I mean, you see these things on YouTube, but as a hairstylist, like, what do I name my business?
Mm-hmm.
How do I, like, when you're creating your business, you have to tell them, like, what is the basis of your business? Are you just a hairstylist? A lot of people get confused by my business. Okay, I am a hairstylist, but I'm also a consultant, but I also test and develop products or
Yeah.
evaluate products. But I also am over here creative directing a campaign ad. Like, there are so many different things. And so you want to think about, all of those things when you're creating your business, so that it'll make
Mm-hmm.
it easier for like better business practices. So yeah, that's one of the things that is pretty challenging for me, because I I'm really not like a on camera person. I like to stay behind the scenes. So that requires, creating content and actually for myself. Like, I'm fine with creating content for brands, but when it comes to
Mm-hmm.
doing it for myself, because I think I'm over critical of myself,
Mm-hmm.
um, I think that's why. But I am doing that. I was told from other creators in such, ways that it doesn't have to be perfect. They like, real life scenario. They want you, the person, and not this mapped out, robotic sort of course that they're going to be watching. So that is one thing. Another thing is, I'm really, really, really boggling down on starting like I guess you could say, the base of a couple products
Oh, cool.
lines of my own that I've been thinking on for years and years. It's never been a right time. I'm always too busy doing it for other people. I'm always too busy doing this or whatever. And I'm like, there's no reason why I can't do this for myself. So next year, I'm really going to get a lot more serious with that. However, in the meantime, for the end of this year into next year, I am going to be out here looking to have brand ambassadorships with a couple brands. I am still going to be consulting because that's like it's become my, I don't know, in this moment, one of my favorite things to do, because I like to share what I've learned along the way. And I like to help build, especially emerging and smaller brands. I like to help build them, and I like to help, offer up advice and information that I have learned working for such beauty giants. And it's just one of my passions. So beauty has always been everything. So I don't know. We will see what else comes. People tell me that I need to stay in front of the camera. However, I just like being behind the camera. I do. But in some ways I will emerge and become front of the camera girl for a little bit. I mean, people love my curls and they always want to see them. So
Well, I mean, our community will be seeing more of your face, so I think they'll be.
you guys will be seeing a lot of me. And a lot of education for me. Yes.
So no,
but I think it's more of a, like, it depends on the type of camera time it is. Like, I like having conversations. Like, I like I'm speaking to you now. But sitting here with a script, like, we don't have a script.
Yeah.
I just like to share from my experience without having to stick to a script. I mean, I know how to do talking points, but sometimes I'm asked to do a script and I'm like, you guys, I'm not an actor or an actress. So yeah, there are certain I guess aspects of being in front of the camera that I love, which is just more conversational, educational, and just offering up my experience. But doing a whole Tyler Perry skit here, I can't do that.
That's fair.
Yeah.
But no, I love that. It sounds like the rest of 2024 is going to be very busy. But I mean, first of all, we're so excited to have you on the team. And really happy to be able to interview you and share all of your words of wisdom with our existing community and for anybody else that finds us along the way because of this episode. So a huge thank you to you for coming on and speaking to us about all the things that you've experienced.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
No,
I appreciate that.
And for anyone who's been listening, who has made it all the way to the end, because I know it's been over an hour, thank you. And we will have links to Catanda's social profile, so you can find her on Instagram. We'll have links to her website as well, so you can learn more about her there. Anything that's been mentioned, like I said earlier, we will have links to them in the newsletter, so don't worry, you're not going to have to rush out and do a mad Google search for anything that's come up. But we're super grateful to have you in our community. If you think anybody could benefit from hearing this conversation, then please do share, like, comment. We'd love to hear your experiences too. But again, thank you so much for listening, and we will see you, or you'll hear us, on the next episode.
Thank you, everyone.